Most traders are morons.
Well, sorry.
No, I was going to say discuss, but you're already there. Let's go. You go.
Oh, yeah, they are. And not that as human beings they're not morons, but they as traders, a lot of people just make so many poor decisions. And we know this because we have all the data from what brokers have and just generally what people are doing, so behind the scenes. So what are the sorts of moronic behaviors that traders have? You go first.
Well, it's obviously running their stops, so moving their stops, not having stops, getting out of trades too soon. It's something we've discussed previously. And what's interesting is the studies that have been done on this go back 10 or 15 years, yet despite everything that we have, all the new systems and indicators and things that weren't around 15, 20 years ago, traders are still making fundamentally the same mistakes when they're in that position. So I'd say that's probably one of the big ones. We've got over-leveraging. Over-leveraging is one I hear about, and the amount of traders that will think they're being very risk-averse, and you find out they're risking 3-4% a trade, and they think they're being cautious. So I'd say they're probably the two that come to mind for me.
Yeah, over-leveraging, over-trading, revenge trading, all these, even the traders who are better in many regards in that they'll sit there and they'll do back testing. I know a trader who did all this. So knew all the risk management and all the normal sorts of parameters to sort of behave within, did a load of back testing, then got overconfident on his back testing and said, I think I'm going to risk like 2% per trade on this. And then immediately I said, don't do it, stick to 1%, which is still quite, it's decent risk. Went on and anyway, so did just trade at 1% and then immediately went into over a 6-month period a 26% drawdown. So it would have been 52 if it had been at 2%. Because sometimes people overly trust in something like a back test as well.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that that's more, because traders need to do back testing, but don't rely on it like it's, again, like a holy grail and it's a guarantee of future results. So there has to be, that's why we still have to have risk management. And, would he have been comfortable? He wasn't comfortable at minus 26%. Crikey, good job he wasn't risking 2% per trade, because he would have been down over half of his account. So there are so many moronic behaviors, even with people like him who was, several years into his trading. So you can have people like that, but in the main, it's the people who are, a few years into trading, don't use stop losses, trying to be right. I think that is my pet peeve, that traders are constantly trying to do everything they can to be right, rather than accepting that they are going to be wrong a given percentage of the time. They'll admit it logically in a conversation, but they won't. Once they're at the coalface, that's what they're trying to do, and they'll do everything in their power to try and do that.
And I think you see that with a lot of the material that's out there on social media. So you'll see somebody justifying a chart pattern with a forwarded chart that just shows that trade being right. And the amount of times I still get asked what I think's going to happen to this market, and this market. And I might have a view, but I certainly don't have a rigid certainty, because I don't know what is going to happen. But it seems embedded in people's minds. And I always remember a phrase a gentleman said to me once. He said, money makes smart people do stupid things. And I think in those moments where a trader's maybe had a good 6 months, risking 1%, suddenly, it's going well for me, I'm going to risk 2%. And it's in that moment, it's the money, it's the thought of making more. I could have made more money. I could be up by this much if I'd risked 2% instead of 1%. And it's in those moments you're behaving like the masses. You're thinking from a point of greed rather than thinking, okay, how do I approach this from a risk management point of view? How do I approach this from minimizing my risk rather than maximizing my gain?
And I think what you just raised is a really good point. 6 months as a performance window is nothing. And yet I get it all of the time. People say, I've gone live with an account and I've had an amazing 3 months. And you think, look, I'm really pleased that you've made a bit of money, but it is nothing, and it's highly likely you're going to go through a drawdown. Just like someone who's 6 months in or a year in, it's going to come. Until you've been trading well past 5 years, don't even think that you're a great trader because you may not have experienced all of these things as yet. So again, that moronic, to use they're not morons, but to use that title, to make that assumption that just because you've had a 6-month winning streak that's it, and you're off to eternity, it's highly unlikely because the market doesn't quite work that way. It always seems to work out that, you know, it doesn't matter how good your last 6 months was.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably you're going to go flat for 6 months or whatever. It's never quite going to be that you're just going to be making 1,000% a year, despite what social media will tell you.